The name of this person is Lina. There are people who enter your life and change it for the better, and there are other people who enter your life and bring them down. Lina crossed all boundaries. Not only did she bring her share down to earth, she also committed one of the most important crimes of public opinion in Lebanon, the Devil's Daughter in the full story, 2023, in Lebanon. This is the history of the crime that was known in the media by more than one name, including Molokhia, Al-Basatin, and the Devil's Daughter. Each of these names had a clear reason, but let's go back 15 years on paper to understand what exactly happened in the story of Lina and Fadi in 2008 in Lebanon. Welcome to True Crime Tracks, where mysteries come alive. If you love shocking twists and real-life cases, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Let's uncover the truth together. Fadi is a young man from a close-knit family who loves each other very much. His son considers him the man who will complete the family's journey and carry the family's name. His sisters loved him very much and were very attached to him. Anyone who knows Fadi closely knows that he is a man and a gentleman who is up to the responsibility. His financial situation is very good, and his family is from a good social and economic environment. Fadi has been determined to depend on himself since the beginning of his life. He always loved to be the one who achieved his own success and did not want to depend on anyone, on his son or his family, and that's why everyone who knew Fadi knew that he was up to the responsibility and knew that he was a very manly man with his sisters. In the same year, 2008, Fadi decided to get married, and this was after he met Lina, the beautiful and eye-catching girl. The truth is that Lina was the one who was trying to get Fadi's attention the whole time, and when he talked to his family about the idea of marriage, his family was very happy because they wanted to see a groom and see his children. Like any Arab household, the idea of marriage for us is about celebrating the entry of a new member into the family, and when this member enters, he becomes one of the family exactly. Anyway, when the family saw Lina, they were not comfortable with her at all, but they kept quiet because they saw that Fadi was very happy with his choice. At the time, the family's discomfort with Lina had no clear reason. The girl did not do anything, nor did anything come out of her. It was just discomfort from the first glance, and the family was really right. Lina was shy and innocent, very much with Fadi, and no one else knows anything about him yet, and Lina knew very well that Fadi was very attached to his sisters. It is true that each one of them had her own life, but they all considered Fadi their man, and of course Lina did not like that, but it was decided that she would change all of that, but in due time. The important thing is that they finish everything in the steps of marriage. Because Fadi had worked his whole life in a pharmaceutical company, his financial income was very good, and of course Lina liked that very much. At the same time, Fadi had some simple political activities and was a member of the political party, but his political activity in general was very little. Because Fadi's income was good, he was living in good financial circumstances for Lina, and this enabled him to buy an independent house for them to get married in. After the first year of marriage, Lina became pregnant and began to talk to Fadi that their son, who was still on the way, had many rights over him, so any money Fadi had to be for the benefit of his son. In addition, it was necessary for him to work more and more hours in order to be able to provide a better life for her and the daughter, and she started talking to him every now and then that his brothers wanted to take advantage of him financially and that they were interfering in his life more than necessary, even though this was not true at all. Anyway, the first child came, and Fadi's life changed completely. All that was on his mind was to finish his work quickly so that he could go back home and live with his son, and at the same time, his son was the one who would carry the family name, and for this reason Fadi was very important to the family, and his son was much more important to the family than him, because as we say, a son's son is more precious than a son, and of course this bothered us more, meaning everything she did to ruin his relationship with the family. All of this could change because of the new baby, and that's why Lina starts thinking of another idea, which is to keep pressuring him, and pressuring him with more demands so that he doesn't have time to do anything other than his home and children, and he doesn't have time to do anything for the family. Of course, because of the constant nagging, as they say. Fadi started to be affected by her words, and Fadi's relationship with his family really started to be affected, and he started to consider that any question from the family about him or his son is an interference in his personal life, but his little sister is still the closest person to him, and that's because his sister was smart enough and understood and comprehended all of Lina's actions. And that's why whenever Fadi did something, his sister would deal with it with the utmost cleverness. With the passage of time, Fadi's relationship with his family got worse, to the point that he wouldn't attend his sister's wedding. And of course, we all know who the reason is. The strange thing is that at the same time that Fadi's relationship with his family was getting worse, his relationship with Lina also had some problems, but Fadi kept quiet. For the sake of his son, 2 years passed, and God blessed them with a second child. Of course, Lina increased her demands, and the financial pressure on him to the point that it didn't matter to her that Fadi worked 24 hours a day, because the task for her meant that she was happy. Although Fadi's family didn't like this life at all, they kept quiet because Fadi was clearly happy. He didn't want to feel that he had made a wrong choice, or that his family had been telling him to be healthy from the beginning. But the only one Fadi could talk to at ease was his little sister. He talked to her more than once that he couldn't stand life with Alina anymore, and that he was seriously thinking about divorce. He actually told her this more than once, but what was making him change his mind about this decision was Fadi's attachment to his children. To this extent, all of Fadi's problems that made him want to divorce were that he had psychological problems and excessive pressure from Lina. Whenever this pressure increased on him, he kept quiet, because he knew that the goal of this pressure was the interest of his children, and that a few years would pass since their marriage, and that life would remain the same. The pressures and the same problems, but after a while the problems start to change and go in a completely different direction, because Fadi started to have a feeling that Lina is cheating on him with someone, and he was not able to say this feeling at all, neither to Lina nor to anyone, because he had no evidence, and he preferred to remain silent and did not want to talk about this subject specifically to anyone. Lina's behavior with him was very strange. Once she asked him that she wanted a divorce, and after she asked him that, she went back to the same decision as if Lina was asking for a divorce as soon as she committed the act of betrayal, or as soon as she had an illegitimate relationship, and she went back on her decision again after she calmed down and thought that it was impossible for her to find someone as generous, loyal, and a man as Fadi. But what is in him is a nature that is difficult to change until we reach the year 2023, and Fadi is 47 years old, and Lina is 43 years old, and their children are between 13 and 11 years old, and the period of marriage between them is 15 years. They have lived together for a long time despite the problems in it, but the relationship is not happy except with his illegitimate children, and his balance is clear. I mean, who would ever make Fadi Badr go back a little bit from his normal routine at home? When he enters the house, he feels that someone is standing far away watching him as he leaves his apartment. When Fadi tries to run after him to catch up with him or catch him, this person runs from behind the house and enters the middle of the crops. After a while, he disappears completely. It was very clear from the way this person looked and moved that Fadi knew him well. In addition, this person knew where to escape from very well. Fadi enters the house and throws very strong signs of stress on Lina's face. When he tries to sit with her to understand what is going on, she refuses to talk at first, but when he pressures her a little, Lina confesses to Fadi that she is actually cheating on him, but she completely refuses to tell him with whom she is cheating on him. We will understand the other thing is that Lina couldn't tell him who she was cheating on him with, and the best thing Fadi did at that time was to act wisely as if this was what would benefit him in front of talking to his lawyer, who at the same time is the family's lawyer, and the truth is that he was also a childhood friend, and when he talked to him, he asked him to come to the house now. It was necessary, and despite the fact that it was late, the lawyer agreed because he felt from Fadi's call that something abnormal was happening. The important thing is that the lawyer arrives at Fadi's house and Fadi tells him everything that happened, and at that moment, the lawyer insists on sitting with Lina to understand if this really happened or if Fadi is slandering her. Lina sits with the lawyer and confesses to him that she is really cheating on Fadi and that she wants to get out and doesn't want anything from him, and that the reason for her betrayal is that Fadi doesn't have time for her and is out of the house all the time. I saw her impudence more than that. The important thing is that the lawyer agrees with her on everything, and they both agree that the process of getting out will be done as soon as possible. But for Lina, she asked them both that none of them should mention what happened to anyone, and this is not for her image in front of people, but so that their children are not affected by what they will hear. Of course, Lina knew that Fadi would get upset about anything as long as it was in the interest of his children, and the day would pass normally. The lawyer asked Fadi to leave the house and go and stay at his family's house. Within a few days, the birth process would take place, when Fadi goes to his family and tells them the news of the birth. Although this news is supposed to make him very upset, this news was the happiest news for the whole family. A few days pass, and Lina and Fadi are supposed to prepare all the details for the birth. We reach Sunday, which is the end of August 2023. Fadi finishes his work normally and goes to his sister's house to have dinner as a family, all together. As soon as he arrives home, he receives a phone call from Lina, asking him to come to her house to have dinner with his children because they want. They see their father, and of course this is Fadi's weak point. He tells the family that he needs to move and go to his house and have dinner with his children. When he arrives home, he finds Lina waiting for him, preparing the dinner he loves. At that time, she was making it very well. All the feelings that reached Fadi at that time were that she regretted it and was trying to fix the problem. Here we come to the first name in the case, which is the devil's daughter, because in reality she was making something very good, but inside she was something completely different. Anyway, she prepares the dinner that Fadi loves, which is the Molokhia meal. This is the other name for the case known in the media as Molokhia. Today she made it very well, as if she was being creative in cooking it in a very healthy way, so that Fadi could finish it to the end. After the food was finished, she immediately asks the children to go to their room and close the door, because she wants to talk to their father for a while. Less than 10 minutes later, Fadi feels a very strong feeling of a pen in his stomach, and at that moment, Lina moves him to their sleeping bag and puts him on the bed to relieve his body from the pen in his stomach. At this point, we won't continue explaining what happened, but the important thing is to hear the details that are coming well. After that, we will go back and explain in detail what happened. The important thing is that Sunday ends, and 3 days pass after them. But the truth is that during these 3 days, Fadi's phone is off, and Lina's phone is also off. His sisters and his son tried to call him more than once, but his phone was always off. They later find out from his work that he didn't go to work during the 3 days, not even once. Anyway, at the end of the 3rd day, Fadi's father goes to his house to ask Lina where Fadi went. When he arrives by chance, he finds Lina, who has placed 2 barrels outside the house and is setting something on fire, but the thing isn't visible because of the fire and smoke. When he asks her about Fadi, she tells him that he actually came to live with them, and after a quarter of an hour, a black car and people from a certain political party stopped him and took him to travel to Syria. Fadi got in the car with these people and informed his wife, and they said that it was a very good job opportunity in Syria. As soon as he arrived in Syria, he called her and reassured her that he was fine, and told her that he would call the family and reassure them about him. He also told her that he was very busy with work and would not be able to talk much, and as soon as he finished work, he would return immediately. Fadi's father was very surprised by this behavior, and even more surprised why he turned off his phone. The important thing is to get from her all the information about the party or party that stopped him to take his son to travel to Syria. At the same time, his sisters were trying to contact him, but his phone was still off. On the 5th day of his disappearance, his little sister, who was the person he was most attached to, sent her a message on WhatsApp to reassure her about him and tell her not to worry about him and not to worry at all. His sister here was very surprised because he used to always send her voice messages. Why did he send her text messages this time? When she asked him to send her a message in his voice to reassure her, he refused and told her that he was busy and that he couldn't do that now. After he replied to the message, he immediately turned off his phone. In addition, his sister noticed that every time she sent him a message, he would reply after a very long time. As soon as she received the reply, she discovered that the phone was turned off again. At that time, Fadi's family confirmed with the security forces and security agencies inside Lebanon that Fadi had never left Lebanon. Even when they contacted the political party he was supposed to be a member of, they confirmed that they had never contacted Fadi. Lina, his wife, began appealing to the state officials to search for her husband Fadi, and she was certain that he had traveled to Syria illegally, and that the party that took Fadi with them was denying that they had done so. At the same time, Fadi's family was also appealing to the officials. Anyway, we reached the 12th day of Fadi's disappearance, and the most important piece of information in the whole matter reaches the security forces. When they trace Fadi's number, they discover that the last transmission point for Fadi's phone was at his house, and that this transmission point did not move from outside the house at all. When they applied the transmission network times, or were picked up on his phone, they discovered that they were picked up during the WhatsApp messages that were being followed to his sister. Here, the security men ask Fadi's family if there are any disputes between him and his wife or not. They confirm that there are indeed disputes between them and that they were going through the divorce procedures until Mr. Yaman, the family's lawyer and Fadi's lawyer and childhood friend, who attended the scene of the betrayal, appears and tells the security men everything that happened that day. He said that when he asked Lina himself, she confirmed to him that she was cheating on Fadi. At that moment, they agreed to divorce, but she asked that the matter remain a secret between them for the sake of the children. At that moment, they promised her that no one in the family would know about this matter. Thus, all the evidence indicates that the secret of Fadi's disappearance is with Lina. The security men arrive at Fadi's house, and Lina opens the door. Of course, she opens the door, and she collapses. She asks them if they found Fadi or not, but the security men tell her that she is under arrest, and that there is an order to search the house. When the security men enter, they discover that the bed sheets are missing, and they also discover that there are traces of a blood stain on the sleeping bag, and it is clear that someone tried to wipe off this blood stain. After searching very well, they find Fadi's phone in a semi-hidden place. This confirms to the security men that Lina has something to do with the matter. As soon as Lina saw Fadi's phone in the hands of the security men, she knew that she was exposed and told the security men everything that happened. We will go back to the day of the Malokia dinner. Focus. In the details, it is very good for us. It was a type of poison that had no taste or smell and was chosen very carefully. As soon as Fadi put the Malokia and sat for a short time, he began to feel the pen in his stomach. At that moment, she transferred it to the sleeping cat. At the same time, while he was still alive, her lover appears, and he finds out who her lover is. His name is Fida, a Syrian national and Fadi's closest friend. At that moment, it will be the shock of Fadi's life when he finds out that his friend Fida is his wife's lover. They hold him back and beat him again until he dies in bed. At 2 a.m., they take Fadi's body, put it in Lina's car, and go up the mountain to the agricultural area. They have a burning chemical with them to pour it on the body and hide all traces of it. They actually arrive at the mountain, and in a completely cut-off area, they throw Fadi's body and throw the burning chemical on it and leave it, and come back again, as if nothing had happened. At that moment, they agree with each other that she will say that a certain party attacked Fadi and took him because they travel to Syria, and the security men actually arrive at the location of Fadi's body, which was actually suspected to be decomposed and completely disfigured because of the burning chemical substance. The body is transferred to the forensic medicine department, which confirmed that the death was due to poison and that the skin was also exposed to a burning chemical substance. He was also in a state of resistance before death, and Lina was burning him in a barrel when Fadi's father went to ask about him, the bed sheets. This is because the next day after his death, Lina started smelling a bad smell because of the bloodstains that were on the bed. So she decided to burn the entire bed sheets so that there would be no trace of the crime. She is arrested and brought to trial. But unfortunately, the security men discover that Fida, her lover, traveled illegally to Syria. A great shock occurs to Fadi's family, and an even greater shock occurs in Arab society because it was actually one of the most important public opinion issues. What is the amount of tyranny that Lina has? She ruins his life and causes him trouble with his family, and betrays him with his closest friend and kills him in this horrible way. All of this for what? I really don't know, and that's why it was the best description. Why is she the devil's daughter? May God have mercy on Fadi and give patience to his family. Peace be upon you. The blood that was on the bed, so it was decided to burn the entire bed sheet so that there would be no trace of the crime, and she would be arrested and brought to trial. But unfortunately, the security forces discovered that her lover, Fida, had traveled illegally to Syria, and a great shock occurs to Fadi's family. And an even greater shock occurs in Arab society because it was really one of the most important public opinion cases. What is the amount of tyranny that Lina has? She ruined his life, caused him a problem with his family, betrayed him with his closest friend, and killed him in such a horrible way. All of this for what? I really don't know, and that's why the best description of her was the devil's daughter. May God have mercy on Fadi and give patience to his family. Peace be upon you, the blood that was on the bed, so it was decided to burn the entire bedsheet so that there would be no trace of the crime, and she would be arrested and brought to trial. But unfortunately, the security forces discovered that her lover, Fida, had traveled illegally to Syria, and a great shock occurs to Fadi's family, and an even greater shock occurs in Arab society because it was really one of the most important public opinion cases. What is the amount of tyranny that Lina has? She ruined his life, caused him a problem with his family, betrayed him with his closest friend, and killed him in such a horrible way. All of this for what? I really don't know. And that's why the best description of her was the devil's daughter. May God have mercy on Fadi and give patience to his family.